Is up, winning team. Well, it's one of them days. Isn't the world just a crazy place? Isn't it funny? Didn't some people for years talk about how things were going to get significantly worse, and at some point, whether you want to address the truths of the world or not, you're going to be pushed into a place of such a level of discomfort and have to come outside of your comfortable cowardice because the world is just going to start to implode. And can I just say, January 2025, everybody. Anybody seen what's been going on in the world? Anybody been hearing about all the craziness that's happening? Literally, hour after hour, there's another disaster. There's another thing going on. Not to mention all the things that are already going on covertly. And what am I here to say to you guys? This is the price we pay for ignoring the things that make us uncomfortable that we don't have to deal with. This is the price we in the West pay for living lives that are comfortable enough that we can just hope that the bad things that could happen don't happen to us. Ignore people like myself and many others who try to sound the alarm bells and say, let's prepare, let's address what's coming. And then we all get hit with everything. And we're like, oh, we don't know how this happened. How did we get here? We don't know how we got here, and we don't know what to do. We weren't prepared. We're in shock now. Well done, everyone. You wrote your own story, and you wrote your own history. Well, some of us were losing our minds, trying to convince you all to wake up. Shout out to the winning team for actually waking up. Not being woke, but actually waking up. Because we've been knowing, right? We've been knowing, we've been saying, we've been seeing, and we've been isolated in our own individual lives. We've been seen as some kind of conspiracy theorists or people who just like to go against the government or like to break the rules and all of that. That narrative isn't so working so well anymore, is it? No, it isn't, because while all of this stuff is happening, everybody's panicking. Can I tell you guys, I'm not panicking whatsoever. Listen, I put myself with the Lord. I got myself right with God. And, and I've been building my arcs, if you will, in whatever areas that at least I have the capacity to do so. And I leave the rest to the Lord. I'm going to get on with my life and do exactly whatever the Lord tells me I need to do as best as I understand. Other than that, I'm not worried. I'm not panicking. I'm not shocked. I'm not looking at what people are talking about thinking, oh my gosh, such and such and such and such just happened. This is crazy. Of course, freaking not. Like, I was listening to this dude just now. So I avoid listening to Christians a lot of the time. I have to be very, very careful. But they were talking about the fact that there's a whole airline that's grounded all of its flights in the States and also in Belgium now because apparently they're having some tech issues. Not to mention, obviously, this Washington, D.C. crash situation, which, again, hella sketch if you ask me. Because even the other day, I was actually in the middle of a YouTube video. I was recording as I do when I'm out walking like this. And I also saw military helicopter here. This is before the crash that happened in America. And I was thinking, that's odd, because where I live, it's very close to an airport. You guys know I plane watch a lot while I'm out. I'm always watching the planes. I'm always paying attention. You guys know I'm obsessed with aviation. So again, for me, I know a lot about airplanes and how all that works. It's extremely difficult for planes to actually crash in this day and age. Like, I have studied hundreds of plane crashes that have happened even since before, I don't know when planes first started, but since decades, right? And in detail from the experts themselves and getting into all the mechanics of the plane and everything, right? Not just who went down what flight path, but like what was actually going on in the actual aircraft upon whatever was happening, etc., yeah? Sketchy, right? But this guy so that's just another story for another day, right? How sketchy this whole aviation thing is, because there's actually virtually no reason for planes to crash. And also, people are like, oh, it's the classic societal stupidity of, oh, maybe he couldn't see, the helicopter pilot couldn't see, yada, yada, yada. Shut the hell up. This is an army level pilot that is prepared for way worse situations than a freaking landing airplane in Washington, D.C. But let's all be the idiots and just always assume that, oh, this is just some kind of an accident. No, that's the dumbest nonsense I ever did here, for starters. Yeah? Not to mention the fact that, as I said, there's ATC, air traffic control. There's all these systems they have in place. This is why I don't believe it. I don't believe the story. I'm not buying it. I'm not buying what they're selling. It's just another, I don't know what's happening, but something is happening. And then these people on this stupid interview where you got like this pastor talking about, we want to like talk to an expert about what exactly is going on in aviation right now because we don't know what's going on in aviation. And then the dude says, and this is like some aviation expert, tech genius, AI, whatever dude. And he's like, well, this whole situation is just showing that maybe we put too much reliance on technology. Yeah, go figure, dingus. Like, how long have we been saying this? How long have we been saying this? How long have I been this is exactly why I'm against electric cars. I've literally been saying this for years. This is exactly why I'm against electric cars. Because, of course, technology, let's assume that there's no ill intent and no one's doing anything sketchy on purpose, right? Technology is not to be trusted in. We've seen this even with the whole situation that happened with the Boeing 737 MAX all those years, like some years ago. What was the problem with those aircrafts? Oh, they added in a new system where the plane overrides the, I forget the name. Oh, what is it called? I forgot the name. Basically, the name, I can't remember the name of the thing that pulls the plane up or pushes it down, right? So the system in the aircraft they made a system that overrides the pilot. We have pilots for a reason, right? And this is why all of this for me, metaphorically, is just a representation of why, you know, in terms of like us as a body of Christ, Jesus is the only pilot I trust in. Just like he's the only president I trust in, like he's the only prime minister I trust in, just like he's the only commander in chief that I trust in, just like he's the only anyone that I trust in. Right? So if they had that technology, what was it doing? Forcing the nose of the plane down while the pilots were trying to pull it up. And the airplane overrode the pilot. And that's why those like couple planes crashed, and then they had to change it again. And that's also just another lesson, by the way, I'd just like to add, and why you cannot ultimately trust in science, because a lot of it's experimentation. Because now you know what's going to happen. They're going to write some kind of adjustment of how, because this is what they do. This is what I learned with the plane crash case studies that I looked into over the years, right? After every crash, they realized there's something they hadn't considered, or an event that they hadn't considered, because we can't consider all events because we're not God and we can't think about everything and we'll never know everything, right? So they realize that there's a reality they never considered, right? That ends up leading into disaster, which of course caused death and destruction, which the devil is obviously laughing and loving his life, right? Then they have to add another line to the whatever you want to call it, I don't know, the regulations from the FAA and all of this. Not to mention the fact that apparently people from the FAA were like, all these people were stepping down and all this. So I don't know what was going on behind the scenes of it all. I'd also like to say, on the subject of aviation, I want to know where all these celebrities flew to while we're at it as well. Can we just say, where did all these peeps go? All these LA fires? Because something tells me these people have actually escaped. Like, they didn't just escape the LA fires. What if they just escaped? They're out of the country. Because that would make sense also why all this aviation stuff is happening now. Because it's kind of like LA fires happens, and then that happens, and then, oh my gosh, oh no, the fires, everybody's escaping, right? People don't really care so much about the celebrities because people kind of like, well, they have money, they can do what they need to do. So we end up having the news focusing on the average individual and what's going on the scene. These guys can probably be flying to God knows who other person's island, right? In the meantime, escaping all jurisdictions, all places where they can be, what's the word? Like extradited, I think is the right word, and all this stuff. And then coincidentally, just as that happens, we start having all these aviation issues. And you know what's funny? I honestly said these things would happen. Hold on, it's a bit noisy here. Yeah, so as I was saying, these people find a way to go and hide off. You know what's funny as well, yeah? Because I've been catching up on what's going on in the world today, okay? Because believe it or not, I don't pay that much attention to what's happening in the world. But anyway, so I was watching, what was I doing? I was looking at the court casing because there was a change in the court case of Diddy. I'm not going to lie, I'm not really following it because it's all just one big performance and one big play, and it's a waste of time. I have no hope that Diddy's going to go down. I just have hope that God will deliver justice whatever way that it can be done, and if it's through the justice system, great. But I'm not looking to the justice system to for some kind of justice. And I'll explain why. Because I was looking into all these different stories about trafficking and sex trafficking, child trafficking. You guys know that's literally everything to do with just children in general. And just victims of these types of things are really where my heart lies. And so I was looking into all these stories, right? You have Diddy, who in his court case, they basically tried to say, right? As the reason why I'm bringing this up to do with all this, everything that's happening. So basically, his defense decided that they were requesting from the government these so-called videos, these tapes that they're saying that all these claims are being made on, because they're saying that they have the legal right. This is why I don't like the legal system sometimes. They have the legal right to that if the government is going to be coming against them, not the government, what do you call them? The prosecution is coming against them to say that they've done X, Y, and Z based on things they've seen in the tapes, and they also have reserved the right to have access to these tapes to be able to defend themselves properly. Now, this is, again, fair and just in concept, but in a situation where we're dealing with human beings and limited amounts of evidence, because we only have the evidence that's in front of us, that's a problem. Because exactly what I expected is exactly what they did. They said, there's no evidence showing that there was anybody other than consenting adults participating. There is no evidence of underground tunnels. So all they're saying is, they're not saying they don't exist, and they're not saying that there wasn't other things happening. They're saying you have no evidence. And that's why I think the world is very stupid in its trust in the justice system. Because all you have to do is say that there's no evidence. And that's what people do. When you have those same celebrities, those same spiritual leaders, all these people that you guys are enslaved to, the first thing that happens when somebody comes up with a suggestion against them is, where's the evidence? So what are we going to do now, guys, with all of this? What are we going to do now? It's this is just the most insane play from the devil we're seeing, and we're just falling for it hook, line, and sinker because we're so used to living comfortable lives, and when we have to deal with things that are outside of our comfort zone or that would make us feel uncomfortable to have to talk about or have to deal with, then we decide that we're just going to ignore it in the hopes that somebody else or something else is going to come in and fix it, or that it's never going to happen. And that's just not the realities of life. This is why I'm not an optimistic person. This is why I don't go around trying to tell everybody that tomorrow is going to be a better day, because it might not be. And if it is, it's going to be because somebody stood up and did something, not just because we all hoped for the best. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, this whole aviation thing for me is hella sketch. All of this is just all a bit too convenient, how everything's happened, how the expose started, and now all of a sudden our news is being flooded with one thing from the next thing to the next thing the next day. The UK government is in tatters. The UK is in such a bad state, I don't even think people realize. It's crazy. Truly, truly, it's crazy. But people, they won't believe it. They won't care. They won't do anything. They'll just shy away and enjoy their own existence, hoping that, we can just turn the news off. The days of just turning the news off are over. I think that's what the title of this video should be. The days of just turning the news off so that you can ignore, or turning off social media to ignore what's happening in the world, are over. Because every single thing, every area of your life, as time is going on, this is what I'm saying. We need to turn to the Lord and we need to actually stand up. Because right now the devil's having a field day, right? Because everything that you do, hold on. That's actually crazy. I just seen a woman that looks exactly like my grandma. And it's definitely not her, because all my grandparents have passed away. But anyways, right? We are no longer in a world where we can just ignore things and just go on in our lives as if whatever. And people are being confronted with that now. And you see, had we all realized that beforehand, maybe we would have been prepared. But the enemy's having a field day, And now you're just going to have to deal with things as they happen, at the last minute, in a state of panic. And what are we going to do about that? Yeah, so that's all I have to say, really, you guys. I told you so. Like, I hate to say I told you so. I had told you so. I tried to tell everybody. I've tried to be sounding the alarm bells. I'm trying to be telling people to really, like, think about what they're doing and what's happening in the world. But people don't want to listen. People think that, oh, you think that everything's bad. You're just this, you're just that. No. I only wish I doubled down sooner, and I doubled down harder even sooner and even more. Because now I'm just looking around and I'm just like, honestly, this is what we should have expected. And this is what happens. The days of just ignoring the uncomfortable truths are long gone, everyone. And if life's a game, let's play to win. Literally, it's part of winning. Is knowing that anything can happen at any time. Anyways, God bless you guys. God loves you. I love you. And I'll see you in my next one.